What did you think about the President's State of the Union address last night?
Well, it was awesome. You know, the lens that I'm looking at it with is the lower drug pricing for everyday Americans and lowering healthcare costs, the maximum price transparency part, the most favored nation status pricing. The President does not like to see Americans getting ripped off, and drug pricing has been the great American ripoff. So we're seeing prices come down 9-fold, 10-fold, 13-fold. You look at the highest spend drugs in the United States. They were $1,300 a month. Now they're $149 a month on Trump RX. People are now going direct and buying their medications. We're seeing Medicare and Medicaid now cut the waste and fraud at levels we've never seen before. We can't keep throwing good money after bad into the broken system. We have to talk about the price of goods and services being too high, what we can do about those prices, and we have to talk about the food supply and the root causes of why kids are sick in America today.
And the President talked about a website people can go on. Talk to us about that. He talked about a couple in particular who are trying to get pregnant, how their IVF medication cost, I think it was around $4,000, and they went onto this website, and it was significantly lower once they found it on this website. So is that actually happening? And for how many Americans, people can just go on this website and find cheaper prescriptions, is that right?
Yeah, this lower drug price initiative is not a 10-year phase-in proposal. This is actually happening today in America. People are going to Trump RX. We're adding new drugs to that website every week, so when people go and look, they're finding the common medications that they take at lower prices there. Some insurance plans are now saying, get your drugs in Trump RX and we'll reimburse you, depends on the plan. And the IVF drug is one of many that is now more affordable, because when a drug is more affordable, it's more accessible to more Americans. If a cancer drug is more affordable, more cancer patients can get it. So we're going to go hard on this lower drug pricing initiative. We've also been told by the President to focus on women's health, and that's why we told women the truth about hormone replacement therapy for perimenopausal women. It has been underutilized because of an old medical dogma perpetuated by the FDA for the last 22 years. We told women the truth about it. Demand is now sky high, and we've gotten a tremendous positive response from women on talking about the benefits of hormone replacement therapy for postmenopausal women.
And tell me what you're doing about rare diseases, finding solutions to people who might find themselves in a situation with a rare disease. And I read your op-ed recently where it talked about rare diseases really aren't that rare that you might think. Was it 1 in 10 Americans, is that right? Who might have a rare disease. So what is the administration doing on that front?
Yeah, about 30 million people in the United States have a rare disease. So in aggregate, they're pretty common, and there have not been the market incentives that we need to really allow companies to develop cures and meaningful treatments for that population. They've been forgotten. And so we've made it a massive priority in this administration to create pathways, to have regulatory flexibilities, and to cut the red tape for new cell and gene therapies and other exciting new promising therapies that can potentially benefit this community. So there have been incentives in place, but we went hard to renew a pediatric priority voucher program that creates massive incentives for companies developing drugs in this space. And we also announced the plausible mechanism pathway this week, guidance that officially says here's a new route to get drugs approved, and you don't have to do a randomized controlled trial when you're dealing with an ultra rare condition, because we all know it's not feasible. We can learn from individual patients. And I've learned from individual patients as a doctor, and that is a pathway that we're going to take seriously.
What are some of these rare diseases? If you can give me some examples. I'm sure you've seen them, you've talked to patients, I'm sure it's come across your desk. What are we talking about here?
Well, usually we're talking about a failure of the body to be able to produce a particular protein or enzyme. These are sometimes conditions that affect the liver's ability to metabolize things. There's for example, a rare disease that results in deafness in young children. About 1 to 3% of deafness that's congenital is due to a particular gene mutation for which a new gene therapy has targeted that gene and has been able to restore hearing in many young kids. Out of the 12 kids that got it, 3 had normal hearing, another 7 had an improvement in hearing. That's amazing. When we see something amazing, we should run. We shouldn't be an angry librarian as a regulator at the FDA. We should partner with companies and say, what do we need to do to get this to market as safely and as quickly as possible? We're getting cancer drugs approved in weeks now, whereas in the past it may have taken several months or a year. And so we've got these new pathways to get more cures and meaningful treatments to the American public faster.
Now, I've covered the news in a lot of different states, here in Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, but also Minnesota, Michigan, South Carolina. And I bring this up because for years I've heard Democratic politicians or elected officials talk about how healthcare, reducing the cost of healthcare is a priority for them. The president talked about that last night, talking about the Affordable Care Act, how he believes it has not made healthcare more affordable, and that he wants to halt millions of dollars to healthcare insurance companies. Talk to me about that right there, where he's kind of blaming Democrats for the situation right now.
I don't think it's a subjective assessment that healthcare is far less affordable after the Affordable Care Act than it was before. The promise of the Affordable Care Act, and this is a direct quote, is that it was going to lower insurance premiums by $2,500. Well, what happened was the exact opposite within a number of years. And so now we're dealing with this affordability crisis as people go in with high copays and deductibles. Their insurance companies have made a ton of money since the Affordable Care Act. And the president's doing something very common sense. He's got great instincts, and he's basically said the money should go to people, not to enrich health insurance companies. They're doing just fine. And so that's a radical new approach, and we need fresh new ideas because all the experts have made these predictions that have been wrong. All the experts have given us solutions that really don't work. They just throw good money after bad into funding the broken healthcare system. We need to fix the broken healthcare system, not just talk about how to fund it differently.
During the Biden administration, 7 News did a story about transparency with healthcare costs and how it appeared that hospitals weren't posting their prices as they were required under the first administration under President Trump. Seems like the president wants to renew that effort to increase transparency.
Look, at the first Trump administration, as an academic at Johns Hopkins in health policy, I was involved in some of the price transparency work, and it was a radical first step. And for the first time, you saw hospitals required to show cash prices. For a long time, you couldn't find out what the price of things were. You'd get the runaround. And we've been doing that at hospitals for 50 years, giving people the runaround when they ask, how much is this going to cost me? Well, for the first time, you got price transparency. It didn't go anywhere under the Biden administration. And so you saw an announcement at the State of the Union that we're going to see maximum hospital price transparency and in urgent care centers and in emergency rooms. So when you ask for the price of a service for a non-emergent service, you have a right to that price and you're going to get that price. That keeps prices in check for everybody, because when we really talk about the affordability issue in healthcare, it's really an issue about the prices. It's addressing price gouging, and nothing addresses price gouging better than transparency of the prices.
Another hot topic right now is children who might have gender dysphoria. And I want to get your thoughts on this. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons, they were the first major American medical group to publicly question youth gender medicine since its widespread adoption. What do you think about this? Because they're saying, look, it won't be beneficial to kids under the age of 19 years old to cut off certain body parts, things like that. You might want to wait. What do you think?
Look, this Plastic Surgery Association, which is the largest plastic surgery association in the country, they're saying the truth, and they're saying what they believe to be true from their own experiences at the bedside. Now, they've said this in the past, but they've been bullied to try to go back on that message. And now that it's a new day in America in the Trump administration, they have come out very boldly and reaffirmed their position on this. It's what most Americans know to be true, that you don't just get to pick your gender out of a list of potential genders, that we have to protect boys who are going to boys' bathrooms from people that go into those bathrooms that are not boys, and vice versa with girls. We have to protect girls' sports. It's a common sense thing that people see has resulted in ruined lives. There's been a medical dogma that if you have the gender transition surgery, you have a reduced risk of suicide. Not true, never been, no data supports that. But we have these medical dogmas that unfortunately have permeated our school systems and even the American Academy of Pediatrics. So we have to tell people the truth. If you have an opinion, you're entitled to your opinion. It's the United States. But the worst thing you could do as a doctor is to take your opinion and speak it as absolute scientific truth when the data really does not support that.
Yeah, we covered a lot of those stories in Northern Virginia where I know in West Springfield High School in Fairfax County, there was a male student who identified as a girl and is now using the girls' locker room there. And then in Loudoun County, a lot of different instances there, but most recently a girl going into the boys' locker room. And then the boys got in trouble for questioning why she was there. So to your point, we do see a lot of examples like that in our viewing area. But before I let you go, anything else you'd like to talk about?
We'd like to see more drugs moved to over-the-counter, so you don't have to sit in an urgent care facility or sit in an emergency room for a medicine that you know you need, that you benefit from, that you've taken in the past. That's going to lower healthcare costs. It's also going to reduce the hassles of the healthcare system. And so we'd like to see medications that are not addictive, that are safe, that don't need laboratory monitoring, move to be non-prescription. That is over the counter, on the shelf in a pharmacy where you can see a price, and that price transparency keeps prices in check for everybody. Many medicines, when you see the actual cash price, it's lower than the copay that you're often charged in the money games behind the pharmacy counter. And so we want to see more access to more medicines for everyday Americans, and we think that has a powerful effect in this broader mission to lower healthcare costs.
You know, there's one thing I didn't ask you about. It was the Make America Healthy Again initiative. Now, I'm someone who likes to go to a grocery store. I like knowing what the ingredients mean. I like eating healthy. And for so long, it's been so hard to find wholesome flour, you name it, right? You go and you pick up a box of cereal, and there's so many different dyes in it. And you question, is this good for me?
Yeah.
And I know that's been a priority for the president. Tell us what progress has been made on that front.
Look, we rewrote the food pyramid to tell people what is real food versus ultra-processed food and the importance of protein. We've called out refined carbohydrates that function like sugar, and the fact that 60 to 70% of the calories of a kid today are from foods stripped of their fiber and are ultra-processed, highly chemicalized, sometimes with addictive chemicals. So our childhood chronic disease epidemic is not a willpower problem. It's not the fault of children being undisciplined. It is the type of foods we're putting in front of kids. Sometimes foods that make them feel full, but not satisfied. And so that craving to have more food keeps going and perpetuates, resulting in insulin resistance and diabetes.
Well, thank you for your time, sir.
Yeah, good to see you. All right, likewise. Yeah.